So in this video, I'm going to be talking about the nuances around Brexit, and that there are a lot of moving pieces in the world, and we're not, like I've said before, we're not big boss, and so the world doesn't revolve around us. So things can happen independently of Britain, and moves may be made not because of or in spite of Brexit. But yeah, so let's dig into these two sort of separate manufacturing things, and we'll see some of the nuances around Brexit. So, if we look here, Nissan could pull out of the EU and expand in the UK after a hard Brexit. Sounds great, more Nissan cars. Nissan, I think, do good cars. I'm not a car person, you see. So Nissan has reportedly drawn up contingency plans to pull out manufacturing in mainland Europe in the event of a hard Brexit in favour of ramping up production in the UK. And so what Nissan, if this contingency plan is real, what Nissan are doing is a massive gamble. And look, you don't become sort of the top dogs at a company without playing some very good cards, but also some very lucky cards. And yeah, so let's look at this. If a trade deal is struck between the UK and the EU that leads to tariff on car exports, and so this is in the instance of not a proper free trade deal not being agreed, whether that's say the EU or the UK putting, say, like, I don't know, a 5% tariff into any kind of agreement, or if it goes to WTO rules, which I think is about 20% on cars. Not 100% sure on that one. And so what Nissan will do is focus on selling more cars in Britain, so manufacturing the cars in Britain, and selling them to British people to avoid the tariff. So say if you manufacture the car in France and you sell it here, it's going to be uncompetitive because there's going to be a 20% increase purely because of a tariff. Okay, so under the proposed plan drawn up last year, Nissan would maintain its factory in Sunderland, so it's good for the people of Sunderland, and aim to boost its share from 4% to 20%, so that's the market share. At the time, it would shut a struggling van factory in Barcelona and stop manufacturing in France. So what Nissan are going to gamble on is that if there's no free trade deal agreed, that any car manufacturer exporting from the EU into the UK, in the instance of tariffs, will be very uncompetitive. So what Nissan are thinking is that what we can do is we're going to ramp up manufacturing in the UK and ditch some of the struggling factories and stuff within the EU, and we're going to focus more on the UK market, boosting from 4 to 20. That's about 16% increase, which is a lot. And so Nissan have denied making such a plan. So there's that. Obviously they're going to deny it, because you don't want, like Volkswagen thinking that, this is a good idea, we'll do that as well, and then that will hinder Nissan's plan. So after the UK's departure from the EU on Friday, both sides are expecting to... this is about the UK and the EU. So a Nissan spokesperson said on Monday, "We deny any such contingency plan exists. We modelled every possible ramification of Brexit, and the fact that remains our entire business, both in the UK and Europe, is not sustainable in the event of WTO tariffs." So basically, they're saying that both their EU factories and the UK factories would struggle. Well, like, not just the factories, but also the showrooms and stuff, wherever they sell the cars. So we want our UK team of more than 7,000 people to have the best possible chance of future success, which is why we continue to urge the UK and the EU negotiators to work collaboratively toward an orderly, balanced Brexit that will continue to encourage mutual beneficial trade. So what Nissan are saying is, look, don't do this. Please just don't do this. And so the chairman of Nissan Europe already warned in October that the imposition of a 10% tariff under WTO, so it's my bad, it's not 20, it's 10. So there's that. And so Sunderland's UK car factory employs 6,000 workers, which makes 3 of Nissan's 5 flagship models the Qashqai. I think I know someone's parent who owns the Qashqai. It's a good car. It's a really good car. The Duke and the Electric Leaf. Under the contingency plans, production of Micra, which is made in France, would be moved to the UK, and Nissan would consider producing the X-Trail in Sunderland. A year ago, it decided not to make the new version of the X-Trail in Sunderland, citing the Brexit uncertainty. So basically, what Nissan are thinking is hard Brexit is going to happen. And that's what they're thinking. If hard Brexit happens in this case, then we're going to move more manufacturing into Sunderland and maybe in other places of the UK, who knows. David Bailey, Professor of Industrial Strategy at Aston Business School, said Nissan's plan was likely to be only one of multiple options and did not signal a vote of confidence in Britain's prospects of a hard Brexit. He's right, because if your thinking is that a hard Brexit is going to happen, your thinking is that I can't move cars from France or wherever in the EU into the UK. And what that means is you're going to just cater to the domestic market. So, say for example, if in Sunderland they made the X-Trail cars for the domestic market, the UK, and also the EU market as well, that would help the Sunderland factory and help it grow. But if your thinking is that, look, I need to build multiple factories now because multiple small factories because I can't move cars from the EU to the UK and vice versa because there'll be a 10% tariff. So there's that. Bailey said it was unlikely that Nissan could gain 20% market share, cited as a key requirement of for the Japanese car manufacturer to focus its efforts on the UK. He said car makers with operations in Europe would have to reconfigure their operations, potentially resulting in some models being built in Britain that were not previously. However, he said this would not always work to the UK's advantage. You would see production shift in both directions. Some production would come to the UK for the UK market alone, and some would go to Europe, like I said a minute ago. But, he's a professor, so his word will always hold more weight than mine. Given the size of the European market, the size of the movement that way would be much greater. He's right again, because the EU market is far bigger than the UK, and you can say that the UK is a rich country. I think we're sixth now, but the EU has number 4 and number 5. Germany's a manufacturing car powerhouse. But wait, so if you think this is a great thing, then you may be mistaken, because
sorry to disappoint you, Yuki. You triggered my trap card.
You've triggered my trap card because Honda have set a closure date of their factory in Swindon, and so Honda will be closing their factory in July next year, a date that's been set in stone. This is done. This is going to happen now, regardless. So I think I'm not 100% sure why they've done this, because instead of building a new factory, they could retool this factory. Retooling is expensive. Something I've learned watching a lot of Gamers Nexus videos. I'll link his channel in the description, even though he does computers. He's a real legend. So the National Honda Task Force met with local authorities for clarity, which Business Secretary Angela Leadsom said was very clear. So I don't really know what that means. Honda is undertaking a strategic view of the site. Ms. Leadsom, who chaired the meeting with the task force, came out impressed by its focus, the local democracy reporting service had said. The final departure date is 2021. So that's now, I think that's now just over a year. Just over a year and a few months. July is also when I was born, so whatever. Diversify. So, Japanese spokesman has said Honda is currently undertaking a strategic review of the Swindon site, which includes looking into viable options for future ownership. So, they're looking for, I think, another car manufacturer. So, Nissan, call them, bruv, call them. Paddy Bradley, the director of the Swindon and Wiltshire local enterprises, said he cannot divulge the detail of the report his team has made as it covered an NDA, but characterised it as looking to diversify the use of the site. Honda has been very clear the vast majority of its staff will still be employed making cars right up until July 2021, so anyone who works there will have to look for a new job very soon. Which is scary. Redundancy packages have been given to staff facing job losses, which is good. I guess in the case of, look, you're going to lose your job, so at least they're offering something. They estimate 15,000 Honda employees and workers in the supply chain. So it's a big site, 380 acres. However, this does not prevent it being sold to a housing developer. And so, yeah, all these people could lose their jobs. Nothing could be replaced. So it could be just replaced by houses. And so these people here, these 3,500 people, may not get another job working within car manufacturing. They might have to get a lower paid job, which will decimate the Swindon local economy, because you're talking about, if you argue 2,000 of these people live in Swindon, you're talking about 2,000 potential job losses. And even if those 2,000 people go on to get different jobs, they might not be as well paying as this one, because if you were offered a more well paying job than working here, you would have moved, most likely. So there's that. So there are nuances with Brexit. So even if you say, look, it's great. Actually, wait, there's one more point. Honda haven't said it's because of Brexit. I think Honda may be moving manufacturing back towards Japan because of the EU-Japan deal. Or they might just be thinking that they want to build... they're going to build new expensive cars anyways, and that maybe a 10% tariff, they won't export that many cars into the UK. It's a lot of speculation on my part, in fairness, but all we can do is speculate because we don't know what was said in the meeting. And so, look, the important point to make here is that the world doesn't revolve around us, Britain, obviously. And so Honda could be doing this independent of anything to do with Brexit. It's unlikely, if we use Occam's razor. would probably be the most likely reason is because of Brexit, and they're going to move manufacturing to an EU country potentially. But yeah, because honestly, I don't know how expensive it would be for them to retool this factory compared to building a completely new factory. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know what more to say on this one. But what is sad is we don't know if Nissan are going to follow up with their plan of more manufacturing in the UK. But we do know that these people who work in Swindon will lose their jobs. Which is sad, to be honest. Yeah, I'll leave it there. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And like I said, there are nuances to Brexit. Not everything will be caused of or happen in spite of Brexit. But if we look at the likelihood of these things happening, companies may not say it's because of Brexit, but what they might say is because of changing circumstances or because of global shifts in whatever business speak and so yeah, I'll leave it there, and I'll see you in the next one.